Hey family, welcome back to Thought Provoking Conversations. I'm your host, Tim Williams, and today's episode might just be the pause and reflect moment you didn't know you needed. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you really checked in with yourself? Not just to ask, how am I feeling, but to truly understand why. Here's the truth. Self-awareness is one of the most underrated tools for protecting your peace. It's not just about knowing your triggers or your personality quirks. It's about developing the emotional clarity to navigate life with intention. In this episode, both Kevin Webb and I will be exploring how self-awareness plays a key role in your mental well-being. When you learn to recognize your patterns, name your emotions, and then sit with your truth, you position yourself to make healthier decisions, build stronger relationships, and live with more balance. Because the more you understand you, the better you will be at showing up, both for yourself and for everyone around you. So let's unpack it together. Welcome to Thought Provoking Conversations. All right, what's going on, everybody? We are here on episode 11 of Thought Provoking Conversations. I have a returning guest, Kevin Webb. What's going on?
What's going on, Tim? What's going on with you?
Not much, man. Glad to have you back.
Yes.
We had a really good turnout in regards to the mental health conversation.
Correct.
Time, and we wanted to go a little bit deeper into that conversation. But in this conversation, it's really going to be talking about just being more self-aware.
Okay.
When it pertains to mental health or your mental health, particularly, and maybe the different steps that you can begin to take in life before or should a potential mental health crisis, no matter how small or big it might be, would take effect in your life. You know, what are some things that you can start to pay attention to, or what are some things that you can even also do to just kind of keep yourself balanced and, you know, intentionally ensuring that you are self-checking both emotionally, mentally, physically, and spiritually to ensure that you are grounded and not about to fall off the cliff.
Okay.
So that being said, I was thinking in regards to just my journey and some things that have going on in life. And I was like, well, how have I stayed afloat? You know, specifically really just these past 2 years with everything going on between my son's mom and I,
Right.
Our different court battles that we're going through and things of that nature. And then still having to ensure that my son is good, that the household is good, and that I'm not, bleeding on to other people when I'm interacting with them due to whatever I might personally be dealing with. And one of the things I actually just recently, it's funny that somebody said it, but they told me that I was, so at my job, I go around everybody. As soon as I see them, I give them a fist pump.
Okay.
And I'm always smiling and things of that nature. And now, naturally, I'm a positive person.
Right,
So it's
right.
not like I'm putting on a facade or anything. But his words, security guard, he was like, hey, man, let me talk to you. He was like, man, you always so positive, and man, your energy is really great. Like, you always coming around and you're genuinely smiling, always just showing everybody love and stuff. And he's like, are you a Christian? Are you from the South? Like, what's going on? And I said, well, I'm not from the South, but I am a Christian. And I said, I am grateful for all that God has done for me.
Yeah.
Even the bad, I didn't like it at the time, but I see where it's brought me today. And I said, but if I take it even a step further, I said, well, life is going to serve you negativity without you asking for it, no matter what day it may be.
Absolutely.
And so I say, I think what the hardest path is to focus on is how to intentionally find the positives in life on a day-to-day basis. I mean, you wake up, turn the news on, boom, negative.
Right.
You wake up, maybe you ain't fully woke up and you stub your toe on the bed. Oh, you hurt, negative. Like, so, I think the hardest journey is really trying to be intentional about being positive.
Right.
But when we route that back to being self-aware when it pertains to mental health, how do we find those positive reinforcements that we can not only discover, but then be able to reach and obtain so that we can find those healthy balances? So
I think when you started out perfect with what you were saying, that we're easy to find negativity. It's easy to walk through life and find something negative. It's easy to point out something negative left and right. But the difference is, why don't we do the same thing for the positive things that happen in life? Why don't we never sit there and point out the positive things that happen? Why don't we point out those good things that's going on in our life? You know what I'm saying? The fact that we got to work 5 minutes early, that's a positive, but we'll just gloss over those. We gloss over the good things like they supposed to happen.
Yeah.
And then the negatives happen and like, oh, they wasn't supposed to happen, so that's a bad thing. No, sometimes negatives have things that happen for a reason. You know what I'm saying? Like my wife was telling the other day, she was late going to work, but then on the way to work, she found out there was an accident on the way to work. That was a negative thing, that she was being late, but she might have avoided the whole accident in the process.
Yes.
So, but we don't look at it. We just gloss over that like, oh, that was no big deal. But we need to take the good things that happen and really highlight those things just as much as we highlight the bad things that happen in our life.
Right, I agree.
And if we do that, it starts to turn our perspective on life. It starts to turn our perspective, or even our mental health. Like, mentally, we can point out all the negative things that's happening. Oh, I ain't got no money. I ain't got my food in my car. My refrigerator is low. You know what I'm saying? I don't feel good. But then we point out that, but I still ate yesterday.
Yeah.
I still got a roof over my head. My lights are still on. The bill may be high, but they still on right now. They ain't cut them off yet. That's may not be the ultimate positive, but it's positivity.
Right.
We need to lean in on those things too, just as we lean into the negative. And if we try to balance it, we'll learn, as the church is saying, that we found out our good days outweigh our bad days.
Indeed.
And we say it as a church thing, but it's absolutely true. If we looked at our day, there's probably so many positive things that happen in our day compared, but we'll just hang on the negative thing. It can be one bad thing that happened and it'll ruin our whole day. Yeah. And overlook all the good things that still went on. That one bad thing might have been bad. I ain't gonna get it wrong. Yeah. It could have been really terrible. But what about all the good things that happened in the process, even while that bad thing was happening? And so I don't get it. Sometimes we let negativity just drain us. And again, we human, it happens, but we got to learn to take that negativity and also be like, okay, it happened. Especially if it's something that you can't do nothing about.
That's true. A
lot of negativity happens in life we can't do nothing about. We can't change. We can't fit right. And we all about something that we can't do nothing about.
Yeah.
And we let it take us over. And then we need to do that, but we need to let the positive things happen. We need to be happy about something good that happened to us. We need to be ecstatic about something. We need to share when something good happens to us, because that helps let us know that, okay, life ain't always just negative. Yeah. Life ain't always these bad things that's happening. There's a lot of good things that happen to us. We just don't point them out. We don't recognize them like that.
I agree with that. And there's a saying, I learned this from somebody else. I would say probably last year, and they made a point of if there's a problem that arises in your life today, you can apply this today, and you got to look at that situation. And if that problem, that situation, whatever it may be that is not to your liking, if it does not affect you 5 years and really the time frame 5 years is not like it has to exactly be 5 years, you all. But the fact is, if it's not going to affect you deeply in the future, do not give it more than 5 minutes of your time.
That's good.
Like we have to be able to assess and be able to say, hey, you know what? No, I did not like this situation, but does it cause for me to get out of character, or does it cause for me to get bent out of shape and feel like my whole day is destroyed because this particular ordeal happened? No, but we have to be able to consciously make that decision. So what is the importance of having self-awareness when we think about mental health?
It's always one of the things I tell people, and I like what you were just saying. I tell people check the facts. That's a constant term. That's a thing we use in therapy all the time. We tell people check the facts. What is the fact about whatever is happening to you? What side of it that you can control? What side of you cannot control? And in the things that you cannot control, okay, is it something that you cannot control? What is it about that that's really affecting you? You know what I'm saying? But what the things that you can control, is there something you can do something about? Is there something you can affect? Is there something that you can change? Go about those things, because a lot of people want to go about when they're mental health. They want to deal with it in a way they want to deal with the things they can't control. They want to run after those things, like other people's thoughts, feelings, and behavior towards them. You cannot control any of that. You can be the nicest person in the world to somebody, and they can be the meanest person to you, because you cannot control. As much as you want to do to them, you cannot control how they're going to affect you. Right. So you don't worry about how they feel about you. You only worry about how you act towards yourself. Mentally, that's the only thing you can do. And so I always tell people, focus on the things you can control. A lot of things we cannot control, but we're allowing those things that we can't control to affect us in a major way. And I like what you were saying. If it's not going to affect you, in the future, give it the time, little time it needs, and then push it to the side. And I think that's one of the things I love to do. Like, I'm very nonchalant about a lot of things, because I'm like, if it don't have nothing to truly affect me, I don't care. And I know that sounds harsh to some things, but it's the truth. It's the way I keep myself grounded, because I'm like, if somebody else is doing something and that's not directly affecting me, I'm like, that's on them. God bless, do what you got to do. But if it's not mentally affecting me, I'm like, if I can help you, I can help you. But if I can't, I'm moving on, because I got enough stuff in my life to deal with than try to bring your mess onto me too. So, and I'm not trying to be harsh or mean to people, but I'll just be like, that ain't got nothing to do with me. And I've had to learn that over years, because it was a time where I used to take on everybody's stuff. I'm trying to deal with this. I'm trying to help everybody. And at a point I was like, why am I running myself, drag it down and destroying myself because I'm trying to help everybody else? And then when I'm going through something, anybody running over trying to help me out or do something with me. So I'm like, why am I doing that? So I started not being cruel, but start putting myself first. So putting God first, what I do with him, and then put myself second, and then my family. Because I'm like, it ain't affecting those areas. I'm like, sorry. Like, people say, oh, can you help me do this? If I can't make it, I can't make it. I love you to death. But it is what it is. I'm like, I'm not going to, I used to kill myself. Oh, such and such need. I want to make sure I need. Nowadays, they were like, if I can get there, I can get there. If I can't, I can't. And I feel better about it. It used to bug me. I used to tell people, I tell my kids, I don't make promises. Because if I make a promise, I'm feel like I got to keep it. So I never tell somebody, I promise you I'm going to do something. Because if I tell them I promise, I feel like I got to keep it. So you'll never hear that come out of my mouth. You'll never hear me say, I promise you I'm about to do this. No. Because then mentally I feel like I got to do it. I don't say that anymore. I tell people, I'll see. Let me see what I can do. You know what I'm saying? I'll say that, because I don't want to lock myself in. I know me. I don't want to lock myself into something and then dragging myself over the trust to get there or do something. You know what I'm saying? I don't like let people down if they really need me. So I make it a conscious effort to make sure if they're asking me to do something, if they want me to be there for them, that I make sure that I'm there for myself first and then be able to put them in there. Not trying to be mean, but it's just, giving a helping hand. I don't mind helping people, but I need to make sure that I can help them with inside of what the means that I can help them in too. I had a long week of work, and then somebody asked me to do something on Saturday. Yes, I be wanting to do it, but if it had a long mental week and then I try to get to Saturday, sometimes I'm like, I don't really feel like it. You know what I'm saying? And
I agree with you.
And it be like that. And that's not personal. It's just how it be. And I don't get offended when people do that with me. I get it. Life is life. You know what I'm saying? Especially these days with everything going on. So when somebody tell me that I can't make it or I can't do something, I'm like, cool, I get it. I understand. You got stuff going on in your life. I'm not asking you to stop your life for me. Do what you got to do. Take care of you. I'm be okay. You know what I'm saying?
That brings me to like a thought process, and you really spoke to it about having to know where you are before you can really go out and start trying to help everybody else.
Yes.
You know, I might mess the saying up, but it's a saying where how can you try to go out and fix the world if your own house is put together?
Yep.
And I've talked to quite a few different people, and a lot of them typically try to argue with me on it. And it's not that I'm against helping people. I like to help people, but I always told these specific individuals and the specific individuals are people who put them in themselves in a group of, I have to help everybody.
Yeah.
I just can't say no but these are the individuals who I feel like have the most stressed out lives. And I always think to myself, could your life be a lot more stress free if you kind of just took a step back? I'm not saying that you can't help people.
Right.
I'm saying don't feel the need that you got to help somebody every single time they reach out to you. You're a yes man or a yes woman. Like, no, it's okay to say no sometimes. And then here's the thing. Sometimes those people, yeah, they do need help, but maybe your help isn't what they need. And here's the thing. I think when these individuals allow themselves to become the yes man or yes womans, they eventually put themselves in a position where they could get taken advantage of. Yeah, that is my opinion, and here, just based on the experiences that I've had with these individuals, I always find that they are tired, they feel overworked, they're trying to figure their lives out. Why is it that I don't have this time to do this, do that? Or it's just, I feel like I'm all over the place. I'm like, I feel like you're all over the place because you're not just saying no. And when we think back on, again, we're talking about self-awareness. And so I'm looking at this in the sense of how self-aware must one be to understand truly where you have to be able to recharge. There's an importance of being able to recharge, and recharge, if everybody recharge looks different. Yeah. But that recharge is that moment for you to be able to say, okay, you know what? I'm going to disconnect for a second. I'm going to realign myself, catch that second wind, third wind, whatever it may be that you need. And then just ensure, where am I at? The bills is going crazy. My boss is riding my neck about a project, and I'm trying to understand why are they riding my neck when it's Susie Q over there who really they need to be on. But I'm the one who's catching all the flack about everything. And, you got kids running around the house. Maybe you got kids who ain't listening and they causing you a hard time. All of these different things are going on in your life. Are you reassessing yourself and saying, okay, where am I emotionally at? Where am I mentally at? And, if I'm not balanced or if I'm not aligned in a way that I would prefer myself to be, to know that, okay, I can get back into this and go round 2, round 3, however many rounds I need, and know that I can last in this next round I'm about to go into. Where are you at self-assessing those moments? And then what does it look like to be able to self-assess so you can now take practical actions that will allow you to succeed in that next round?
Yeah, I mean, that's good. And and that's what self-assessment is not a one-time thing.
Yeah.
Self-assessment is a constant thing we have to constantly do. I can self-assess 10 years ago. When I was younger, I could go and do so much more. Or we can go 20 years. When I was in my 20s, I could go kick it on Saturday night, get up early, go to church, keep going there, go help somebody do this. Boom, 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 go. And it wasn't nothing. Right. Then I when I got a family, okay, I had to reassess what my life looked like because my priorities changed. I'm not just about, it's just not taking care of me more. I'm taking care of a wife and kids. So boom. Right. And then I got older.
Yeah.
another reassessment had to take place where I'm like, man, I can't go like I used to. I get tired faster. Nowadays, Sundays are usually are supposed to be my self-care day. Now, it always don't end up like that.
Right.
When I get home, like typically after we get done with church, I come home and I'm like, I ain't doing nothing the rest of the day. I don't want to see no church work. Yeah. Don't call me about no church. I'm about to either play some video games, watch a show. That's my time. Take a nap, whatever. And I try to, there's been days where I didn't keep that, but there's been times where I try to make it a point because week can get heavy. I'm seeing clients throughout the week. I got kids at school and homework. We got things to go. So Sundays is usually the day where there's nothing much going on. I don't like try to plan nothing on Sunday afternoons if I don't have to, because like typically it's the one day I'm like, I can sit down and just hang, just play games with my kids. I can just watch the TV show and I'm okay with that. And I love to be able to do that because I need that moment to reassess, like you said, to recharge my battery. You know what I'm saying? It may not get all the way back to 100, but it gave me a sense of, time to, I can just stop and be like, whose side? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And we have to reassess our lives. Even when we're going through stuff, we have to take time to just say, I can't do this today. You know what I'm saying? I can't, I mentally, I'm just worn out. It's a lot going on. I need a second. You know what I'm saying? And there's nothing wrong with that. And I think sometimes people try to go and do things for everybody and be out there for everybody because they're lacking something inside of them that won't allow them to look inside of them about what's happening for them in that sense. You know what I'm saying? They're just looking at the fact of, they want to be able to help everybody because they don't want to look inside to see what's actually going on with them. Mm-hmm. And sometimes that not even wanting to look inside causes them to miss things that's going on with them that they're projecting on the others. Right. They're using that what's happening with them. They're like, oh, well, I need to help everybody else, and I don't have to look inside about what's going on for me. And we have to be aware of that because sometimes we can be out there helping others and dying on the inside. And what is that doing for you? Yeah. If you're dying on the inside, but you're helping others, you're doing great things. Don't get me wrong. You could be doing great things, helping people, doing this. But if you're dying on the inside of yourself, in the long run, you're affecting you. And those people, unfortunately, going to keep going. Yeah. They're going to keep going, not in a negative way like they didn't like, but they're going to keep going. And then you put yourself in a situation where you can't go and help like you used to. And that can be hard. That can be hard for some people, but it happens when you don't take a second, even to look inside of you. You ain't got to be looking inside for a break. You be looking inside of you, be like, what's just going on with me right now? You know what I'm saying? What's happening with me that I need to, that I feel like I got to go. You know what I'm saying? And I've learned that going can be rough. On you. And some people get to lives where they get kids, they got stuff going on. That's different from just, I just feel like I gotta be in the it crowd or I gotta be the it person. You know what I'm saying? They're always on. Most of us ain't celebrities. And most celebrities ain't trying to be out all the time. You know what I'm saying? They trying to be in the house chilling too. So I get it. We have to understand that there's something in that going, but we have to figure out exactly what that is. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. We have to figure out what is it that constantly pushes us to keep going and not stepping back and recharging our batteries, stepping back and getting the opportunity. Because if we're always in the middle of it, how do we be able to step out and get the perspective from the outside? Yeah. If we're constantly in the middle of it, we can't see the perspective on the outside because we can't stop ourselves long enough to even look at it, assess what we done done. Yeah. So kind of looking at that, what would you say are the steps in order of, like, at least the basic steps? I don't know if it varies by person, but what would be maybe some simple steps that someone could take to really intentionally self-assess? So there's a couple of things people could do. As a Christian, I'm going to leave it at this. Okay. The first thing is prayer. They definitely want to always constantly pray to God to ask him, am I in a line with what you want me to have me to do? You know what I'm saying? Am I in a line where you have me to go, God? Yes, God, if you have me aligned to go out and help people, cool. Am I helping the right people? Am I in the right places to help the people that you, or am I thinking I'm in the right place? So I always say prayer is the first place to go. Always asking God, to not my will, but your will, God? Am I in the will of what you have for me to do? The second thing to do is, like I said earlier, take a step back and are you aligned with the goals that you have set for your life? You know what I'm saying? Those are big. Or are you aligned with the pathway that you have, whether it's career-wise, personal life, dating, all those things? Are your goals set? Do you have a clear vision of where you're going? Or are you just out here doing things? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Those help assess where you are. And then mentally, I think people need to take time and along with the prayer, sometimes and like you said, it does vary for people. Some people, I will say yoga sometimes can help you mentally just focus. Sometimes reading a good book, self-help book we always got to be constantly ready to grow. And when we're not trying to grow, we're dying on the inside. And so is there something that we can sit down? Stress management, you know what I'm saying? Are we managing our stress in a way that we understand that these things are overwhelming us to a point that it's taking us out? You know what I'm saying? Are we always it's constantly tired? Are we constantly always complaining about certain things? If you're doing that, you got to assess yourself about, okay, what's actually going on with me? What's actually happening that I'm stressed out all the time, that I'm complaining all the time, that I'm mad all the time? I always got this grumpy look on my face. I'm helping everybody, but I look mad about it. Nobody wants you helping them if you look mad all the time. You know what I'm saying?
True.
So how are you looking at yourself about what's going on there that help you be able to be a better you to be able to help someone else? Those are simple things that you can also I always say you can go to therapy. As a counselor, I'm telling you, go to therapy. But you don't have to really do that. Some people just need a good circle. You have a good circle of friends that you can have a conversation with. You have a good, a trusted advisor or somebody you can talk to. You know what I'm saying? Those are good too. You know what I'm saying? Having that one you can call up on the telephone and say, man, I need some advice. Or man, I just need to get this off my chest. The biggest thing is getting it off your chest. You know what I'm saying? Being able to talk to somebody and they ain't got to have an answer for you. They just need to get it out of the inside, out on the outside, so people can hear it. And usually as you're talking, you're processing it already. You already know what to say or you already know what to do because you're listening to yourself talk about it. That's huge. I mean, that's one of the biggest things I tell people, because that's what therapy is for the most part. Sorry, give away the secret. It's getting it out of your inside and having somebody else help process the situation with you. You know, they may ask you the right questions to get you to an answer that you weren't even thinking about. That's what it is. And you can do that with a trusted friend. They may not always have the right questions, but you want somebody to listen to you. And most of the time we're the ones that's getting poured into and we're not pouring back out. You know what I'm saying? And we have to pour back out to someone else because we get overwhelmed too. You know what I'm saying? The helper always gets overwhelmed. And the helper also has to have an outlet. And having an outlet is a strong way of self-evaluating where you are.
I really like that. I was thinking especially more so now, more than ever for me, I've really been focusing on my why when it pertains to self-awareness. And I feel like my why grounds me pretty much in everything that I do. And so when I'm looking at these things, I'm like, okay, well, what is the reason why I'm doing any of the things that I'm doing? You know, why am I choosing to be an exceptional father in my own right? I'm not judging it based upon nobody else. It's just what I desire to be for myself and how I would desire my son to be able to look at his dad and say, hey, you know what, my dad was there and, you know, he was present. We did this and that, all those different things. And so, you know, when I look at my why, I had to take time to shape that why and then start realizing, okay, now that I understand what my why is, I'm able to now move throughout the days and know exactly where I need to be able to give my time. And then if I do give my time in things that are not necessarily aligned with my why, you know, again, I need to probably look back at that depending on what those things are. So, here's a very transparent moment, battle with pornography. And as a matter of fact, I just told Jason. So there's this app, you all, definitely, if anybody who is battling pornography and feels like they can't overcome it, I definitely recommend this app. But it's called Covenant Eyes. And with Covenant Eyes, basically all it does is it's an accountability app. You install it on all your different devices, and you set accountability partners that will basically get reports on a daily basis of what you're doing on the various devices that you've set this on. That being said, I had Covenant Eyes on set on all my devices, but I got a VR. The VR can't get Covenant Eyes. And I found myself slipped up and just kept looking. And it was like, this is easy. Ain't nobody gonna find out. And, whatever, it is what it is. But then I started to check my why. And I was like, well, my why is to be, one of my biggest whys is first and foremost to be a great role model to my son. Yeah. And I was thinking to myself, how crazy would it be that I later down the road, prayerfully, he never has to go through this, but it would be heartbreaking to know that he fell into the same ordeal or practice of sin that I was in, because he saw his dad doing some crazy stuff. Yeah. And when I began to take a look at that, I was like, Tim, why you keep doing this? Is the temporary pleasure of this really worth the long-term shame that you will feel if you kind of find out that, your son got caught into this lifestyle because by way of you? And I always think, and I'm saying that he's going to catch it because of me or anything of that nature, but I'm having to put myself in his shoes. Like, would I want my son doing this? If not, why? Right. And so, what happened was, after I began to self-assess and just start to ask myself, like, Tim, first off, is this healthy? Well, we know it's not healthy. But not only is it not healthy, but we also need to what steps, or what is it doing? What is the true cost of impact that is doing for me? Well, I remember, and granted I'm single now, but I remember when I was in a relationship with somebody, they caught me in midst of it. And I remember how they felt about it. It was they wonder why, like what's wrong. They were even going as far as to put it on themselves, like, this is how you make me feel because you keep running to this outlet in order to find your satisfaction. What is wrong with me? And I started to realize, like, that's not how I want people to feel, but nor do I want to feel ashamed and feel like I'm stuck in this, because I knew it was wrong. It's a temporary pleasure for what a long-term shame I typically have after the fact. Yeah. I always have the convictions. And so when I began to really look at this with this VR, I said, you know what, Tim? I can't be in this situation. I don't want to be in this situation. And, with self-awareness came with some very clear actions. Well, I know I can put the Covenant Eyes on all of my devices, but I know I can't do it on that. And I know that is my biggest weakness right now. So, once I'm self-aware and honest that there is a problem, so we need to at least be aware that there is something going on that either we don't like or that we just want to see in a better light. And then from there, it's like, okay, taking the steps to actually alleviate that problem. For me, I was like, you know what? I had once tried where I took it to my mom's house and I kept the VR at my mom's house, which was fine. But then one day, guess what? Went back and got it. And so what I did this time is I actually took the VR and I reached out to Morshe. It's like, Morshe, you want it? You can have it. And he's like, I can have it like for good. It's like, yeah, you can have it for good. He's like, dang, bro, you spent a lot of money on that. I said, I ain't spent no money on that. And I said, first off, that was a gift. Right. But even no matter how much money I might have or could have spent on that, at the end of the day, it's costing me so much more in the long run. Right. I get that. And if I wasn't aware of what the true cost of allowing this practice for me to stay prevalent in my life, if I wasn't aware of those things, there's just no telling of what damages that could have come about later down the road, not only for my son, but in my love life. I'm in the process where I'm ready to date and get married, so I don't want to bring that into my household, and then my wife catches me and feels a certain type of way. And so, I think about the importance of understanding, again, your why. Why are you doing the things that you do? And if they're not aligned with your why, is it time for you to take a step back and make sure you get realigned on your why? And going as far as for me, I'm cool. You can have that VR. I don't want it. I don't want it no more, because at the end of the day, apparently I've shown myself more than once. I just can't deal with it.
Right.
And maybe one day there's going to be a time where I don't need an accountability app because I just really have kicked it. But right now, I don't want to play with the fire. Yeah. And so that being said, having to then, once you've been aware of what needs to be done, having to take those drastic actions to ensure that you remove anything that is blocking you and keeping you in a place where you feel bound.
Yes.
And that's where I'm really trying to go, is now that you're self-aware of whatever those chains that might be holding you mentally, physically, or emotionally, then taking the necessary steps to have to make drastic moves. And so can we talk a little bit about that real quick? Is how important is it taking those drastic moves in order to ensure that you are not bound by whatever is going on that could be plaguing you mentally and emotionally?
You did the steps. You did it. And you actually did it perfect. You stopped. You took time and stopped and looked and was like, what's happening in my life that got me feeling this way? Or what's happening in my life that got me in this situation where you, like you said, you was bound to something. That was the first thing you did. Second, you made intentional steps to go about and getting rid of this. So many people complain about so many things in their life, but won't take the steps to even start to get rid of it. You know what I'm saying? Or, you know what I'm saying? Doctor gave me a bad report, but I won't change my ways and go start working out or eat better. Oh, well, that's just the doctor. They don't know what they talk about. You know what I'm saying? They do know that. That's why they in that profession. Or I'm always mean and I'm always upset about things, but I won't change to certain things that's happening in my life to fix those things. You have to be intentional about those things. Those things just don't change themselves. Yeah. If that was the case, then we wouldn't have to do nothing. But most things take us having to take sometimes drastic action, and sometimes it's just action. In your case, you had to take drastic action by, you know what I'm saying, I'm going to remove this thing that's in my presence that's causing me to stumble. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And some people can't drastically think about those things. I mean, even sometimes, and I always tell people when it comes to boundaries, like with people, sometimes, like, I've known clients that had to cut off mama and daddy and brother and sister because they were being the ones that were dragging them down in this space where they didn't want to be at. Right. And it was hard, but it's like you have to set proper boundaries for yourself, even with people, with mama. I only can deal with mama to this level. I can't deal with mama when it comes to this, and this. You know what I'm saying? Because I know where that's gonna go with us. Right. Or I only can deal with certain friends. I gotta cut off certain friends because these certain friends take me to a place that I don't need to be. You know what I'm saying? I can't have alcohol in my house because alcohol is gonna take me down to this place where I used to be. Weed, whatever those things is. You have to take those drastic measures to remove those things from in front of you, because if they're there, like you said, they're gonna entice you. They're gonna make you feel that you're gonna see it and you're gonna have a thought back about what it was like in that moment with these things. And then, like you said, those moments, situations become guilt, shame. We feel bad about ourselves. We walk around stumbling over something that took, a couple minutes to do, watch us think. You know what I'm saying? And now we feeling bad about ourselves. We feeling guilty. We're feeling ashamed over ourselves. Something that we could have, if we just remove from our situation, if it's not there, what they say, out of sight, out of mind. If you don't see it, you ain't tripping off of it.
Yeah.
You typically ain't gonna worry about it. You know what I'm saying?
That's true.
So we have to, when we're intentionally trying to think about things on this time, we have to be strong about removing those things that are not good for us and replacing them with something else. And that's the thing. You can remove something, replace it with something else good.
Yes,
you know what I'm saying? Like, okay, so you're not watching that. Now you're watching a documentary that's going to help you be better. You know what I'm saying? You stop doing that. So you remove something, have something good. You go work, and then you got time to go work out or do something else. There's something, don't look at it as you lost something.
Yeah.
Replace it with something that's better. You know what I'm saying? Something that's gonna elevate you and not bring you down. And that's what we got to be looking for. What can elevate us? What can we put in our lives that's gonna elevate us and not bring us down? And if we look at it that way, we don't get so caught up in this. I lost something, or I don't have something in my life no more. No, I got something. You look at it like, I got something better now for myself. I got something that's more useful.
Yeah.
For yourself. And we look at it that way, we can that transition is a lot easier. It's not just, we lost something, we're just sitting sad. You always look at it like when people lose a girlfriend or boyfriend, they so down, they don't feel better. And most people don't feel better till they get somebody else. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
they
that's true.
replace that last bad relationship with a good relationship so they feel better.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's true.
That's kind of the same concept. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? You take something bad out, put something good in there. Now they don't even think about the bad relationship no more because they got the good relationship that's right in front of them. Yeah. And so it's kind of that same concept. You know what I'm saying? Take that bad thing out, replace it with something good. And that good may not be good right off the bat. Sometimes you got to learn.
That's true.
How to make the good thing. Everybody don't like working out at the beginning. My hardest thing is getting back going. But once I'm doing it, I feel good. It makes me want to do it. But it's so hard to get back. When I get off a couple weeks or a month or so, I hate it because then I got to rev myself back up and going. But if I'm in the middle when I'm doing it, I'm fine. I don't mind going down to my basement and working out. I don't mind doing that. But as soon as I go off like 2 weeks, I'm like, oh, now I got to work out. I want to do this.
Totally understand.
But once I'm in it, I'm good. So it'd be that part, is that getting started part, taking that step forward to whatever that is to get into, because that is the hardest thing. That first step is the hardest. And most people find out once they take that step and get into it, it's not bad. It's not bad at all, but they got to take that initial step to get into it.
I think another thing is also, everybody listening, is showing yourself or having grace for yourself. Of course, having grace for other people, but really having grace for yourself.
That's right.
We're talking about self-awareness for your own mental well-being.
Correct.
Too many times I know this, I failed so many different times, and then all of a sudden now I'm beating myself up. I'm speaking negativity into my life over something, again, that was a temporary decision. Yes, it might have had some lasting consequences, but many times it's not lasting consequences. It's just a temporary decision that had a consequence that came about that particular time. And now all of a sudden I'm holding that consequence or whatever I did, those actions that I did not like, all over my life. So now we 20 years into the future, I might be married and I'm holding and causing I would say an unsafe, in a sense of an emotionally or mentally unsafe environment for my family, because I'm still holding on to the baggage of my past decisions. Whereas if I really look at it, I haven't even been doing that stuff anymore. But maybe, and for some people, it could vary, honestly, for everybody. But some people feel like, oh, I got to hold on to this because it helps me remember where I came from. No, you don't got to hold on to it. Let it go.
Yes.
You going to remember where you came from.
Yes.
But no matter what. I remember how I was in high school. I remember how I was 5 years out of high school versus where I'm at today.
Yeah.
But I'm not trying to hold on to that baggage. And I think the importance, again, is, okay, once you've understood what areas you need to improve upon, or you want to grow in. Okay, then you take those actions. Once you have seen those changes over time, think about our last conversation is, enjoying the process.
Yes.
There is going to be a journey. You have to look at it and say, okay, I remember, 2 months ago, I was looking at pornography like crazy. And now 2 months ahead, I'm not there anymore. Yeah. And maybe just the other day you had a little slip up.
Yeah.
But you got back onto it. And you said, all right, cool. I'm gonna keep tracking. I'm gonna make sure I don't do this again. Well, that's a win.
Yeah.
And you got to look at that as a win to say, you know what, 2 months ago, I was looking at this now.
Yeah.
And so, you might have made a little slip, but that slip wasn't you reverting back. And now you just saying, okay, I'm going to give up and this is just who I'm going to be, because that's what I was. That's how I did. Or I would slip into porn. Or I was not slip into porn. I would slip out of porn, and then, I would slip back into porn, and find myself saying, "Oh, well, shoot, now I slip back into it. I might as well just go ahead and do it, and because I'm just never gonna get out of this." No, I wasn't showing myself grace. This isn't something that if I could have just kicked this, I would have kicked it.
Right.
My mom sent me through abstinence abstinence school. She did her own little self teaching thing, which was really weird. And I still battled with this for years on years, but I was judging myself so hard that I wasn't seeing the true progress that I made. And so again, whether it's enjoying the journey while you're in it, or maybe you've already overcame. And this is where I really want you to show yourself grace. When you've overcome whatever it is that has kept you bound for so long, don't hold on to that.
Yeah.
You just got to let it go. Thank God that you've overcome that. Go and celebrate. Yeah. Celebrate yourself. It is okay to celebrate yourself, and don't let nobody make you feel less than, because you are out there celebrating the fact that you have achieved something that has held you captive for so long. And I thought to myself as you were talking, I'm like, yeah, this is one of those things where people got to show themselves grace, because we can be so self-critical to ourselves, and we will not, a lot of times, depending on what the situation is, we don't allow ourselves to truly let go and just go and tackle whatever next is on the journey of life. And so I want to make sure you all do please have grace for yourself.
I think what you saying with that reminds me, son, we spent 3 weeks in Bible study talking about forgiveness. And I think we did that for a reason, because it's such a deep thing, and it's such a hard thing for a lot of people. And the Bible says, Peter came and said, how many times should we forgive Jesus? 7 times? No, Jesus said 7 times 70, which is like 490 times, which is just a number, but really we're saying we should forgive all the time. Correct. And that's forgiveness. And we're talking in that sense, he was talking about forgiving others, but also we need to forgive ourselves. And I think that you're perfectly correct about the grace thing. We have to have grace for ourselves. We have to forgive ourselves over and over and over again for some of the stuff that we think back about, some of the bad things we did, some of the people that we messed with, some of the negative things that we happened. Sometimes we got to say we forgave ourselves once. We may have to do it again, because that thought creeps back in our head that, oh man, I did do that there. I'm sorry. I already said it once. Say it again. I'm sorry that I did that. God, I'm sorry that I did that. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing wrong with that, because you're going to have to constantly, because the devil constantly bringing that stuff back up on purpose. On purpose to get you back, because he knew where you was in that space. He's trying to get you back there. Now you have to tell the devil, no, I've already overcome that, and I forgave myself for that. And you're not going to make me feel shame and hurt over that again when I've already forgiven myself for it. We have to continue to forgive. We have to give ourselves 490 times for one incident. And that's okay. And because it's going to keep, if we continue to forgive ourselves, that's that grace you're talking about. That's having grace for ourselves, that we're going to mess up. We're going to mess up. The Bible says all have sinned and fallen short. every day. We work it with brand new mercies and grace every day that God has given us, because he already know we're going to mess up on today.
True.
So he's giving us grace to say, not saying go mess up, but he's saying, I already know you're going to do it. So I have grace with you. So I'm not going to hold. God's not holding it over our head. So we shouldn't hold it over our own head.
Yeah.
And we have to let it go. And sometimes that alone can be the biggest thing that we can do to find ourselves to move forward, to keep going, is to let it go, to tell ourselves that I messed up. I did it. I'm sorry that I messed up, and find practical ways to move forward. If we can do that, that just forgiveness alone can be a huge weight lift off of ourselves.
Indeed.
That we can be able to take that's bound us, that's just holding us down. That forgiveness of ourselves, saying, I'm sorry, I don't feel bad, can be that weight that you need to be able to move forward. Because we can do all the practical stuff, but we're still holding the shame on our back. We might as well still be there because we ain't moved forward, because we feel the shame and guilt over something that we, took steps to get rid of, but we're still feeling a certain kind of way. So that's still holding us back.
And that will bleed out on
And that will bleed out on others and on ourselves, because we haven't forgiven ourselves. And it's hard to forgive others if we haven't forgiven ourselves for what's the stuff that we didn't do with ourselves.
Very true.
And so we have to, I think, over everything we talked about today, I think this is a great thing to talk about, is that we have to forgive ourselves for the pain, the struggles, the things that we didn't put ourselves into, the situations we got ourselves into. You know what I'm saying? They happen. It was bad. We can't do nothing about it, but and move forward in a way of saying, I'm sorry that happened. I'm gonna try to do better the next day, and keep going. And let that be that. The past is past. You know what I'm saying? I got my supervisor always say the past is perfect. Why is the past perfect? Because you can't change it.
Yeah.
It is what it is. You cannot go back and change the past. Ain't nothing you can do about it. The only thing you can affect is the future and how you move forward. And so we can't be so hung up on what happened in our past, because we can't do nothing about it. We just got to forgive ourselves for what we did and move forward and be better in front of us. And I think if we look at it that way, we can be so much better about who we are on the inside, because a lot of us walk around with so much guilt and shame on us that it hurts us from being able to move forward with who we are, because we feel so much pain on the inside because we've never forgiven ourselves for the little things. And I'm talking about forgiving ourselves, but even if somebody does something against you, you know what I'm saying? Forgive yourself on the inside that it wasn't your fault, that you the one that caused that. Some of us walk around with that type of guilt on us, like, oh, they did that, so I must have did something to do that. Most of the time, no. It's just them on this situation, and you have to forgive yourself and tell yourself that wasn't me. They had nothing to do with me. That's just what the day they was happy, you know what I'm saying? And let it go and not hold on to it so much. And once you start to figure that out, it makes going forward easier for yourself.
I like that. This is not necessarily going to be this part of or today's conversation, but I was just thinking about a conversation I want to have, and I think it ties into this when we are actually letting go and forgiving ourselves, that it also brings out an air of confidence within yourself and in the way you move through life. Now, I'm going to talk about this later in another episode, because I was going to talk about it from a dating standpoint. But, I think honestly here, you see a lot of people who are dragged and they feel like they just, why am I even living life? And that's probably because there's so much baggage that's weighing you down, and so much forgiveness that you need to do for yourself and for others. And I think when you are allowing yourself to truly allow that baggage to fall off of you, you truly forgive people, regardless if they ever apologize to you or not.
There you go.
Like when you just say, you know what, at the end of the day, it's my health, my mental, my well-being matters most to me, and me holding this grudge does nothing for anybody other than just take energy, just suck the energy out of me on a day-to-day basis. I think when you finally start to just drop all that weight, there is an air of confidence and an air of joy and joy that falls on you, and that you can just look different in life. People will start to look at like, man, you just look brighter. What's going on in your life? Things going well? Things are going well, but it's not because a particular thing happened. Like, no, you came into all this money, but you made a conscious decision to say, you know what? I'm choosing to want and take a hold of better for my life. And that means I have to let go of the weight that has been trying to drag me and suck me down and just take me out. And so I think that is one of the things that if you really want to see what the benefits of just being self-aware and then moving forward and taking action while mentally having or being mentally well-being in this particular case, it's like that's a huge benefit. It's like you get to enjoy life. You get to truly experience what it really means to just have joy that surpasses all understanding.
Yeah.
You know, people wonder why the world is going in all chaos, but you out here still smiling. Because I'm choosing to smile.
There you go.
But because I'm also realizing that with everything that's still going on, I can only control a bit of all this. And whatever I can control, I have to make the most out of that. And I don't have time to allow all this negativity that's surrounding me to basically determine how my life is going to move forward. Like, no, you got to determine that. And it starts by understanding where you are. Yeah. And then what needs to be done to get ahead. Yeah. So that being said, got anything to say real quick?
No, I think that was a positive way to end this. I think that was a good segment. That we do have to let those chains fall off us, and we got to remember. One of my favorite verses is "All things work together for the good of those who love the Lord and call according to His purpose." Yeah, the good and the bad it's happening on purpose. Yeah, and we understand that. You know, we can live and walk a little bit easier. That eventually it's going to turn for my good. Yeah. And it has to at some point. It always won't, be bad in our lives. So it's going to turn for our good. And if we learn that the good and the bad has purpose in our life, that we could walk a little bit easier and a little bit lighter and not feel so stuck in when something bad happens to us.
I was thinking about Job just now. It's like, for those who don't know the story of Job, a very quick and simple way of telling this story is that Job went through hell, you all. Yes. In the Bible, he lost literally everything. And here's the thing, he lost everything with the permission from God. Yeah. And it wasn't because necessarily Job deserved all this. Like the Lord knew who Job was. Job was a true follower of Christ, and loved the Lord like no other. And the devil just doing his way with it. And even still, Job went through, I'm sure, a slew of emotions. Yeah. I know his mental had to be all over the place. I know. But at the end of the day, he still made a conscious decision to focus on the positive. And he said, you know what? The positive is not what's going on around me, but it's the God that I serve. Yeah. And despite all the hurt that I'm going through right now, I'm going to focus in on Him, and I'm going to look for guidance through Him. And no matter what, God was right. Job never once denounced God or never lost his faith in Christ. And so, you all, whether you be Christian or not, hopefully you are a Christian, but if you're not Christian, cool. I'm just going to simply invite you, we got church 4068 Maffitt Avenue. We are a really great church, Unfailing Love Christian Church, you all. And I invite you to just come out. We do, virtual service as well, if you want to tag along there and just kind of get a feel for the church experience. But you all, for me, I feel like this journey is null and void without having Christ in my life. Amen. Because honestly, especially as being a single father, it's amazing to me to see how I've gotten to where I'm at in just these 2 years. Versus if I was trying to do all this without Christ in my life, and not have that foundation.
As the world say, if I didn't have Christ in my life, I'd have crashed out a long time ago.
Yes, so, indeed.
Only by Him that I'm still standing and still be able to move and do what I do. But yeah, absolutely. Job's story was a crazy one. And even his wife was telling him to denounce God.
Yeah.
And Job did. And he was blessed double for everything that he went through. So it's not, like I said, everything you're going through is not in vain. It has a purpose.
Yeah.
And we may not always understand the purpose, but it has a purpose to get you somewhere. And we just have to be able to consciously lean in on ourselves and God to help us get through this battle.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, you all, this is episode 11 where we're talking about self-awareness towards just a positive light and being mental, in light of your mental well-being. As always, we're always focused on creating emotionally intelligent leaders, whether that be personally in your life or professionally in your life. Hope that you've gleaned a lot of stuff from today's conversation. Feel free to drop some comments on our social media to let us know how you feel about the conversation and some different things that you would like to hear moving forward. But that being said, Kevin, thank you for joining me on today's conversation. Again, yeah. Well, you all take care, be blessed, have a great rest of the day, and go out there and be great.